This is State Representative Jeffrey Elmore with your weekly session update for March 24th. And I'm going to give a shout out. Today's my mom's birthday, so happy birthday, Mom, on the 24th here. Tell you about the week that has passed and some things that have happened. It's been an extremely busy week. It's been extremely long as an appropriations chair. Some very, very late nights this week, so the session update is a day later than normal, just for me to play some catch up. We've been working till 12:30, 10:30, very late nights this week, pulling the budget together. Talking about the budget, today, late yesterday, we did what's called lock down the budget. So for the committee recommendation from the full chairs, the budget right now is locked down. So staff is working through today, tomorrow, to be able to present the document next week. We're not 100% sure on the schedule next week on how it will flow, but the document will be presented and start moving through the committee process next week as we move towards getting a state budget. And remember, the next step with the budget that you will see coming out next week, this is just the House budget. The next step is that it will move to the Senate. So we've been through the governor's budget. Now you have the House version, then it will go to the Senate so they can present their version. Then we work out the details on it in what's called conference. Also, I want to give a shout out to Wilkesboro Elementary. I enjoyed, my staff and I enjoyed taking a couple of tour groups through the House chamber. The other two groups went through the Senate chamber as they visited the Legislative Office building, and as always, I get to feel like a teacher again down here with my second job. Enjoyed taking questions from the kids in the chamber on what actually happens and how bills flow and how the legislative branch of the state government works. So shout out to Wilkesboro Elementary there. I'm going to talk about a few bills. Since I filmed this the last week, this has happened since then. It happened a week ago on Friday. There were a couple of bills that we had sent to the governor that he basically allowed to become law because he did not sign the bill. And that can happen. He has a couple of options. He can sign a bill to make it automatically become law. He can veto a bill to stop it in the process and basically send it back, or he can do nothing. And after a certain number of days, the bill will actually become law on its own without his signature. So these fit in that category. And one of those bills was sponsored by Speaker Moore, House Bill 40, Preventing Rioting and Civil Disorder. This bill strengthens the penalties against people rioting, and especially when they destroy property. And this is in reaction to the riots that we had all over our metropolitan areas in North Carolina a couple years ago. So this stiffens the penalties on destruction of property in a rioting situation. And also Senate Bill 43 was allowed to become law. This is hotel safety issues. And this clarifies the ability of a hotel owner to actually be able to get someone out of their hotel if they are committing crimes, drug use, those sort of things. And sometimes we have basically kind of pseudo squatters in some of these hotels, and this will add some ability for the hotel operator to be able to get those folks out of the hotel to make it safer for everybody. So now let's talk about some bills that passed the House this week. HB 96, the REACH Act, will require students that are enrolled in North Carolina University the university or the community college to take at least 3 credit hours of American history or American government in order to graduate. This was a Representative Kidwell bill. Had a lot of debate on the floor. So now this moves to the Senate. We also passed HB 250, Death by Distribution, Good Samaritans, Autopsy. This is dealing with folks that have passed away due to drug overdose, and making sure that a proper autopsy is conducted on the body, and also following back to the person that distributed the drug to make that more seamless. Right now with the medical examiner's office and the backups, we feel like this will help law enforcement deal with these type cases in a more streamlined manner. Also, HB 186, Equity in Education. This bill is basically the anti-CRT bill. What this states is it will define the rights of students regarding their sexual orientation, race, and ethnicity. Each student will be guaranteed that they will not be discriminated against because of their background. It will prohibit school staff from promoting certain concepts that are contrary to that intent. So basically what the bill is very broad. It states that in our schools that we need to treat everybody equal, and that if you are trying to push a particular political agenda or a particular thought process, that is not allowed. So that's an interesting bill, and that will move over to the Senate next. House Bill 76 came back from the Senate. That was an expansion of Medicaid. I continue to vote against that because of the financial pressures that will be put on the state long term with the rise in rebates, the rise in service cost, and I believe that we will be all right for the next few years with the expansion. But it passed overwhelmingly and now moves to the governor, and the governor has said that he will sign this bill. It's just a matter of when he will do it. Local bill that moved through the committees this week is the HB 308, the Alexander Board of Education referendum. I received a resolution from the county commissioners of Alexander stating that they would like to put on referendum, it would be on the ballot in fall 2024, to let the voters of Alexander County determine if they would like their school board elections to be partisan or nonpartisan. This bill also cleaned up some old statutes that dated back all the way to the late 60s and something that happened in 1991 to make it more, their school board more in line to the rest of the state, because there were some odd exemptions and things put in there for their school board. This bill does nothing with the districts, though. The districts are allowed to stay at 7, which they are currently at. So that is a local bill that is now in the Senate chamber. I want to give a shout out, and I missed this shout out last week, to the town of Wilkesboro. The town of Wilkesboro received a $1.6 million grant for continued improvements to Cub Creek. They have done a lot of work on Cub Creek that flows through the town with stream mitigation projects and improvements. Very active in promoting trout fishing in those streams because of the work that's been done. And they received some additional grant money to continue that type of work downstream. So very exciting for the town of North Wilkesboro, and I missed shouting that out to them. And also North Wilkesboro announced another grant that they received, $300,000 for Smoot Park improvements. They've been working to try to improve that central park there that is in North Wilkesboro. So good job on those, and very excited to see some additional resources in the two towns. The last thing I would like to talk about is the North Carolina Department of Agriculture for Bioenergy Research and New and Emerging Crop Program. They are going to be having some informational sessions on April 13th for our farming community. And a couple of things that they will be touching on is the Bioenergy Research Initiative focuses on developing energy production from the state's agriculture and forest-based products, while the New and Emerging Crops Program focuses on identifying potentially new crops, value-added products, and agricultural enterprises, making them commercially viable and profitable for the state's growers for agribusiness. Some of the highlights of this session, if you're interested in it, is rice for NC farmers, the potential of growing rice. That would affect more down east. Fiber hemp, if they are dealing in hemp, how do you grow, and what are the best climates for growing hemp to be used in fibers? Also, another one here is growing sesame in North Carolina. The feasibility of growing sesame across the state's regions. These are the sesame seeds that would go on salads and things. So these may be some opportunities for some of our local farmers to get some informational sessions. It's very hard on the farmer right now because they're having to diversify their crops because of markets. The markets may be low in dairy, for example, if they deal in dairy, and they're having to diversify their crops to be able to make it. So these are some informational sessions that I wanted you to be aware of, and they will take place on April 13th. If you need contacts for information on how to sign up through the department, give my office a call, and we can connect you with Sam Brake or Hunter Barrier, who are dealing with these workshops that are taking place.